engineering unit. And if you go way back, you will understand that what mechanical engineers do is they create products. Products are there for someone to consume. You consume products. Today, these products are physical and intangible. If I take a smartphone, it's all for the services, but you still need a tangible asset, this phone, right? And this is something that is the point of all companies, is to create something and someone's going to use it. The point then, what we're going to talk about that, is ambidexterity. Tricky word, but we call it two-handed, being two-handed. Think you're going to juggle balls or something, you need to activate two hands. So the biggest problem we have, and this is a universal problem that's been around forever, is going to be around forever, but the way you handle that problem will tell you if you're going to succeed or not. And the reason we chose this topic for today is because this is what I'm getting from most of the companies in town that tells me over and over, it's so important that we do these things. And whenever I want to book a meeting, it's like, Tobias, this is really important, but we don't have time. We don't have time. And I'm not going to name drop anybody in an organization. It's the same all over the place. NKT orders of 130 billion they need to deliver. Saab submarines going to deliver. They have stock options, etc. Sjöstridsskolan, BTH, everybody needs to deliver. But here's the point, and I'll start with an anecdote. So if you're in your house or home and the floor is dripping wet, so you bring a mop and you try to mop it up. If it disappears, apparently someone just spilled something. If you mop it up and it's still wet in half an hour, what do you do? When you're using your logic brain, is that, hey, there's some water leaking here. So what do? You go and try to find the source of the water leaking. There's a broken pipe, there's a faucet running or something. And what do? You fix that faucet, right? Because you realize, in a very logical sense, if you mop water up and it keeps coming, you mop it up again and it keeps coming, you're kind of stupid if you don't try to fix that problem, right? But this is actually when we go into business mode, we don't think like that. So businesses are trying to fix that problem. They try to mop up the water every day. We have this production problem now. We have to deliver this now. We have to do this now. Constantly putting out fires, mopping up water without taking the time to either put out the source of the fire or take away the reason you have water on the floor. When you talk about it like that, it's really, really natural, but in reality, it becomes really complicated. So why does it become complicated? That is because most organizations, they are designed and are running on indicators that were designed for yesterday. So in Sweden, as an example, if we take the development of the last 30 years on a gross natural product, it's typically like 5% increase in productivity. Basically, doing more with less people has given us an advantage over the years. So we are producing materials with less people. So we're getting growth with less people. But at some point, you reach that threshold where you can't really perform better. You need a step climb. And that's not happening through being incremental, from being better on quality, more research, etc. in terms of KPIs. Is coming from doing something differently. So what we're talking about here is, yes, you have to take care of today's problem, but you also have to do the things that matters tomorrow. We usually frame that as innovation. So these are the things you need to remember today. Is don't choose one or another. You have to do both. Then comes the tricky question. How do you do both and what is both? So let's talk a little bit more on that. History was all about efficiency, predictability, and delivery. People that are old like me, basically above 50, remember when you bought a car because of, that's good quality. Nobody's buying a car because of good quality. And they expect when they lease the car that's going to work, right? So it's not an asset. What we buy a car today is totally what would be said 20 years ago, superficial values. Oh, it feels good. It looks good. I like the feeling of this steering wheel or something. Or I like that actually have Apple Car. It has CarPlay included. So you basically purchase a car because you can connect your phone. Just think about that. This is purchase options. If I'm being very cynical, you couldn't sell a car in Northern America 15 years ago if it didn't have a cup holder. So people are looking at having a cup holder in the car. This was one of the features that killed Saab over in US some 50 years back. So anyway, the question was before, are we efficient? But today it's more, are we adaptable enough to survive? Because if you do not adapt, you're going to be dead. And this is not something I'm proposing, it's a fact. So we can go down to researching this. I'm not going to quote many articles, but there is an article, Nudgy and Tough. And afterwards, if you register, I will send out presentation and papers on this you can read up. The thing is, if you bet on efficiency and you invest all your time in efficiency, say 100%, say that you're making 100 million, you invest that in efficiency, the kickback on that is going to be 20% in the future. So you spend 100 million, you get 20 million back. How many years do you have until you're dead? 5 years. But if you say that you live off 5 to 10 to 15% of that, Mats Lövdahl was talking about Ericsson. Ericsson typically a company that bets their entire existence, I would say 50-60% of the revenue on research for the future. If I go to ICA, classic food chain, they're betting 5% on research. And then you're thinking, what do they do research? Concepts like taco. Anybody who buys the Swedish taco, Santa Maria, is buying an innovative product which is marketed at the store as it's something that's coming from Texas or Spain. It's not. If you go to Mexico and trying to order taco the way we eat it in Sweden, then we just look at you and you get a burrito with black beans. You don't have black beans in Swedish taco. It's because it's a research spice and concept that they put 5% and put it in the storage as a marketing item back in 1995, 1996. So they also do research. But Ericsson is betting their entire future on the next XG. Where are we now? 7G. Right? Yeah. If someone is buying something else, Ericsson is dead. But ICA is not dead if people are not buying tacos. But you have to understand that we are betting different money. So if I say now betting 100 million on efficiency is giving you 20 million, what should you bet on? The answer is 10-15% on things that do not exist today, because the fact is that those 10-15% is going to give you 70-80% of your revenue in the future. So I'm not telling you to go do something differently 40 hours a week. I'm just saying spend 35 hours a week solving today's problem, but also spend 5 hours a week or 1 day every second week or a couple of days a month to look at the future solutions, because otherwise you are dead. And it's not guesswork, it's a fact. But when we look at this and that this journey of being efficient pays the bill of today, it's quite hard to argue, because usually when you look at the process, organizations are run by, oh, do we take any risk? Oh, high risk. Nobody wants high risk. So we lower the risk to any stage gate meeting. Basically, a meeting you have a manager, they will say, we don't want to take risks. We don't want to do this. Because all those things are coming from the idea that you have to control quality, control the things you can control. So basically what we want to make an argument for is that you need to find new key performance indicators. Instead of having key performance indicators is, oh, I only want 15% risk. You should start thinking about what is opportunity in this. What is, if I have 15% risk, what is the other 85%? Is that status quo? Where is opportunity? Have you ever heard anybody measuring opportunity? Probably not, right? Because we are grown up in this efficiency system, right? That's what we do. When we're educating people, you're all being educated, right? The idea is that we educate you, you will earn money. Tough life. We are going to educate you, but you need to learn this lesson because you will have to find a job. Now you're competing with AI. So now it's more like, where do you add value? And this is constantly changing. And so is it also with industry. So that's what we're talking a lot about. So having this ambidexterity is really important. And remembering ambidexterity, think it as being two-handed, being able to do two things at the same time. When you're looking at the table, management table, you have the ones doing the products of today. And on the other side should be the ones doing the solutions of tomorrow. And they will argue. And as a leader is just saying, yes, you're both right. We have to do both, not choosing between them. And this is how you should think when you work in teams or anything. Have all these aspects. If everybody's sitting there conforming, thinking the same thing, you're dead. You're actually also dead if you bet all your money on next generation of products. If Ericsson is betting 100% on innovation, they're dead. They're betting 50, 60%. So if they're failing, they will be almost dead. They will have to fire a lot of people, but they will still keep a course so they could come back and innovate again. But if you're betting 100%, you're completely dead also. Because the products of today keep you alive. The products of tomorrow help you prosper and have the things that keep you alive tomorrow. So when we do innovation then, what is it? It used to be have some smart guy or girl coming up with patents. In telecom again, patent is something you negotiate with. But what we are talking about here, which is the modern way, this is prototype. So the reason I find it interesting what Andreas and the others are doing now in military, building this experimental lab, is because you are doing experiments, you are prototyping. Because you can't just sit there and think about, can we come up in a smart way? And then you have theories for that. You actually need to prototype something. This is why I'm going to introduce Martin in a while here, because that's what he's been doing inside Volvo and what we've been doing with Volvo and what Carl talked about the other day also. A lot of prototyping. And prototyping is not just small pieces. It can be quite expensive. It can be full products out on a pre-market or something, because prototyping with the right methodology where you do minimal viable prototypes is allowing you to test whether a hypothesis holds or not. So it's not prototypes where you create something and ask something about it. It's prototypes where I look at, if this thing is going to fly tomorrow, what is the most crucial aspect that can kill that solution? So you prototype that solution. If you're going to do, everybody knows Star Trek, right? This machine that could beam someone from one place to another, brilliant machine if we invent it. The MVP of that would not be, how do we have a nice door that can close around it? What's the control panel? No. The thing is, how do I transport a human being from A to B and making sure that they come together in a full piece? That's the MVP to prototype, right? And everything around that is just the flashy stuff that makes it work and look good. So it's finding that minimum viable prototype that allows you to make a step change. You might not like Tesla, you might not like Elon Musk, but the guy is brilliant when it comes to MVP. People did not trust electric vehicles to be able to do something at all. So what he did is, let's put together an MVP that shows that an electric car can have the range that actually makes it worth replacing your fossil fuel car with. It can have a price tag that also makes it possible for you to replace a regular car, and then we build that solution. And when he did that, Tesla is not going to be the world's biggest brand in cars because that was not the point. The point was to show that it's possible. And now someone else, bigger actors, Volvo, Audi, BMW, all the other big movers, Kia, etc., they are going to transform this world. But Tesla showed that it's possible. And now they're doing the same with space, with SpaceX. NASA were the only ones sending rockets out in space, extremely expensive. Now SpaceX is doing that for 1/5 of the cost. Day in and day out, launch rockets land. So now they disrupt the space also. Their intention was not to take over the market. The intention was only to show that it can be done. This is what we do with MVPs. I will close this circle after Martin, but I will have Martin come on stage and talk a little bit on what he's been doing, because he's an industrial PhD student. So at the same time as he's writing his PhD, which is documenting research, he's actually been leading these things in prototype sessions, etc. And I think this is something which is knowledge worth having here in this region, because we have a lot of production companies that deliver on KPIs. As I said, NKT is going to put the cables out. Saab is going to put the submarines and the floating vessels out there. But it's important to understand, where do we prototype for the next generation? So Martin.
Yes.